Morning folks, Kevin here. Well, it's July 5th, 2018. I'm up on the most northern part of the property, our main road here. The slope of the property actually heads both south and in a westerly direction. And this whole area up in here, now I'm up near where Pond 1 is right now. This whole area was several years ago. We excavated the whole area and did a lot of earthworks. What we did was we created hugelkultur pits, and I'll put a link in the upper right hand corner to the hugelkultur pit description and explanation of what was actually done up in here. But when we did that, what we ended up doing was we ended up filling in like right along the road here, not necessarily right where I am right here, but midway down this whole, I think it's about 800 foot before we get to the driveway. About midway, there was a large drop-off area and stone walls in here. And so there's a lot of fill from the gravel that was excavated from the pits that we dug. And so the surface of the ground ended up being what I'm going to call bacterially dominated. Now I'm going to put a link to two different videos in the upper right hand corner. One is about soil succession, and it's a transition from going from a weedy, bacterial dominated soil, dirt, and gradually transitioning as the microbial community really expands and the trophic levels expand. And I don't want to get too much into that. You can refer to that video. The other video has to do with the soil type that's there, the differences between the various breakdown products of the mother material and sizes and their properties, their intrinsic values. So those are the two videos that I'm going to link up here in the upper right hand corner. The reason that I'm making this video is, as I've watched other YouTube channels where people are working with food forest and all, there are some potentially inherent problems, whether it's the soil type that's there, or whether we really have just dirt, or we have a really good fungally dominated soil microbiome that will support food forests and all. And I think that by me showing you an example here, it may make more sense. So this whole row of blue spruces that I put in shortly after making that huge transition, getting the earth changed, all of the trees buried, all of the stone walls buried, and smoothing out and leveling off the property. Geez, we saw lots of green coming up. There's grasses and weeds and all coming up, and I was mowing it down. And before I put in the swale systems, and before I started building incorporating carbon-rich materials into the surface of the soil, I planted all these blue spruces. And the ones at this very end did pretty well. The ones at the other extreme end did very well as well. But all the ones in the middle started developing different disease processes. Most of them fungal diseases, where those limbs closest to the ground the needles started falling off, turning brown. It was a fungal disease. So it was opportunistic infections because of the microbiome necessary to maintain a healthy environment for those trees and bushes and all that I was planting wasn't yet established. So I put the cart before the horses, in a sense. What I ended up doing was I said, geez, I've got to get the trees started right off the bat, because all the trees are going to be necessary and it's going to take years for them to develop. Where I should have gone ahead and focused on creating the optimal environment, so when those trees do get started in a good microbiome rich, appropriate for the tree species that I wanted to put in, when those trees did get started, even if I started them a few years later, they would do much better because they would have an optimal environment to grow in. I hope that makes sense. But I've ended up having to replace several of the trees in the center. The soil still isn't, because this is an area that I haven't really focused on up on the front area here. I did put quite a bit of wood chips up in here, which are all gone now. And the soil is making a transition, but it's a very slow transition. And there's comfrey planted in between each one of these blue spruces as well. So what I'll end up doing is getting on Pepe here and just driving down this path here, and you'll be able to see, hopefully you'll be able to see how some of these blue spruces, especially all the ones from, just 50 to 100 feet from this end and 100 foot from the other end, aren't doing nearly as well as the ones on each end. And that's really because of the maturation or the stage of succession of the soil organisms that are in the ground. And in order to change those soil organisms, the things that are necessary is certainly provide the food sources for them, and so you might call those prebiotics, and then putting the probiotics in there as well, and that is let's say the fungal duff, or soil constituents, the small amounts of the soil to mix in with the organic material that you're distributing in the area. And gradually they will start to expand their colonies and establish all of the various trophic levels. And again, going back to that soil succession video will help you to understand that. And certainly one of the areas that we may fall short on is understanding what are the actual needs of the plant species that we have. One of the reasons that I'm using you see all of the trees planted in the mounds in the food forest, in the second food forest, and the main reason is because I wanted to make sure that those roots never got saturated. So during these heavy downpours, I wanted to make sure that the roots didn't go anaerobic and get starved of the air that they so desperately need as well. So I'll cut this video short here. I will just do a quick ride down along the blue spruces here so you can see an example of one of the problems that I created by not paying attention, putting the cart before the horse, and not working with the soil first before working with putting the trees in. So I hope driving down along the road there, you were able to appreciate the difference between the health status of many of the blue spruce. Now, the blue spruce have been improving in their overall health since realizing how important changing the successional level of the microbiome in the soil along that whole row. So what I've been doing is adding different organic materials as time has gone on, and making sure each year to go on up and try and re-inoculate soil duff, the fungal duff from the forest floor in areas where this level of soil succession has really established and maintained a very healthy forest floor. So I hope that this was somewhat helpful. If so, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and by all means hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when we post more videos. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I look forward to getting feedback so I can understand where to head next as we go through things and go through the season rather. So I hope you folks have a fantastic day. Take care now. Bye-bye.